Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Cancer, Sun, Moon and Descendant for the month of December. I hope you're well. I can scarcely believe that I'm doing readings for December already. It's absolute lunacy, but here we are. So we're using the Wild Unknown deck for you today. Let's see what they've got to say. So I have 3 cards for Cancer, please. 3 cards for Cancer. Ooh. That's a very strong presentation straight off the bat. We've got the Chariot, which is the card of Cancer for me in the Major Arcana. That's in your recent past. I like the fact that that's there for you. I have 2 more cards for Cancer, please. Ooh. We've got the Queen of Cups. In your current energy, also a card of Cancer. Wow. And what is coming towards Cancer, please? The month of December. Ooh. What's coming towards Cancer, please? Not going to take them unless they jump. There we go. Oh, we've got the Knight of Wands. That's Sagittarian energy. That's very nice. We've got some interesting cards at the bottom here. The first is the 5 of Wands, which indicates in some instances conflict. It can be competition. And sometimes it can be petty conflict, or it can be, really large-scale fallings out. It's followed by the Ace of Swords, which is interesting. It's a card that speaks about truth and open and honest communication. And then we've got the 10 of Wands, which is all actually really rather interesting. So it feels like there may be something coming to a head for you. I should just point out that the Wheel of Fortune is underneath that. The 10 of Wands talks about burden. It talks about things being too difficult. Perhaps understanding the truth of where things are difficult leads to a conflict, or perhaps the conflict shows you that it's too difficult to keep going on this way. Maybe, in fact, it's some insight into what's caused it in the first place. Whatever it is, and I feel like we'll come back to it because we'll understand it a little better in a few minutes' time. The Wheel of Fortune tells me that this is an important thing, right? This is an important thing, TM, that is occurring for you in December. There's a kind of clarifying energy about what's coming to a head. But the main cards that you've got on the table are really positive and really very good. Not only that, yeah, 2 Cancer cards. Let's get some clarifiers. What about the Chariot, please? The Moon, the other card of Cancer in the Major Arcana. Where's the Chariot here, please, for Cancer? What was that? 10 of Pentacles. Huh? Tell me about the Mother of Cups, please. Why is that here for Cancer? Queen of Wands. Was it you? I remember there was a sign that I did a reading for maybe 6 weeks ago that had just a multitude of queens coming up. I feel like it was Cancer for some reason, but what about the Mother of Cups? Oh, there it is. 8 of Wands. And then why is the Son of Wands here, please? Got the 2 of Swords. Oh, there's the King of Wands. Didn't jump though. Why is the Son of Wands? There we go. Ooh! And the Fool. Let me shut this window. Do you remember how I said I felt like there was a clarifying energy? There was something that was being released and let go, so it showed you where you were kind of lumbering along with things where you didn't need to, right? Like, you see things clearly, and when you see things clearly, you can put them down and move away from them, right? For some of you at least, it's other people, it's interactions with other people that in some way are causing you to either abandon your own needs, or they're just not bringing anything to the table for you. We've got another card here that speaks about boundaries, the 9 of Wands, and then we've got the 4 of Wands underneath, right? That's situations that are fairly close to home. It doesn't have to be home. It doesn't have to be your partner or your family. It could be friends, it could be work colleagues. Got to take it as it resonates to you. So The very first card that we've got, and I'm delighted to see this, is the Chariot. I said it's the card of Cancer. And when you've got a sign that shows up in their major arcana form in a reading, like that is a really strong, authentic presentation of their energy. Like you are being you, Cancer. And it sounds like such a ridiculous thing to say, but for you, I think this is a massive deal. You know, there are some signs, fucking hell, can't I even speak? There are some signs who turn up in their reading, like months in, months out. Like Leo usually does, Scorpio usually does, a couple of others, Taurus often, right? Increasingly Taurus, not so much at the beginning of the year. And these are generally the signs that actually give less of a fuck about what other people think than others, right? Cancer, as a water sign, I know Scorpio is a water sign, but they're a class apart. As a water sign, you're very in tune with other people, and you know, some of the shadowy aspects of Cancer are notions of codependence and stuff like that, right? So actually what other people think is really, really important to you, and it has at times dictated how you have shown up in the world, how you have moved around in the world. The Chariot card is all about victory. It's about autonomy. It's sometimes about shadow work, and interestingly, another card that I would associate with shadow work is the Moon. And it's about knowing exactly who you are. And because you know exactly who you are, and you know exactly what drives you, and you know what's important to you, kind of saddling up your horses and moving in a particular direction. Now, the thing with this particular Chariot card is quite interesting. Usually you've got a charioteer and a chariot, obviously, and two beasts in front of it. And you are being called to kind of hold these beasts in alignment so that you can move forward in a particular way, in the way that you want to go. And they have to be held in alignment, because if even one of them starts to veer off, the whole thing's fucked, right? I quite like this depiction in the Wild Unknown, though, because it dispenses with the chariot, it dispenses with the charioteer, it dispenses with something else. It's a point of integration, but it's so integrated that it is now one being, right? You've done loads of work on yourself this year, Cancer. Loads and loads. And the benefits are really starting to show, I feel. Like the two cards that came out underneath to clarify were the Moon and the Ten of Pentacles. Now, like I said, this is one that I often associate with shadow work, because it talks about the subconscious, the non-conscious, the things that are hidden from us in some way or another, right? The bits of ourselves that we don't tend to own, if we can possibly help it, because we don't like them. You know, society has shown us that those bits of ourselves are unacceptable. But for you, Cancer, it feels like this year has been a voyage of self-discovery, and it's been up and down, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster. But ultimately, you have identified things in you that you didn't notice were there before, and as you have taken ownership of them, so you've actually fairly gently, I feel, processed them and moved through them. We've got this Ten of Pentacles, and it's a card that speaks of commitment first, but it can be to, you know, your job, your work, but it can be the family situation too. You know, I've got a whole family depicted here on this card. It's like, it often speaks to me of heritage and legacy, this card. You know, it's like a snapshot in time. We've got an elderly gentleman sat there, and we've got children around, and we've got the generation in between. You know, there's lots of family stuff going on here. And you don't get 10 pentacles like that, not unless it's an inheritance anyway. There's a notion of having built something here. Now, whether this is you building your family up, you know, a great deal of investment in your family, or a business or something like that, it'll be different for each of you. But let's pull one other card. All right, tell me about this Ten of Pentacles. Where's this here? Ooh, fascinating. Ooh, we have two major arcana cards here. The legacy part of what I was just saying there was, you know, what you are building for your future generation. And it's kind of like standing on the shoulders of giants in some ways, but not necessarily. Sometimes it's all by you. It's like where you've come from and what you're building moving forwards. The two cards that have come out to clarify are Judgment and the World. Consecutive major arcana cards. Now, Judgment is about your personal judgment. Sometimes it can be a resurrection of situations that you thought were you know, long since dead. And the World implies an ending, but not in any kind of tragic, awful sense. In a completion sense, right? You know, having completed a particular journey along the major arcana, which is known as the Fool's Journey, and getting ready to graduate up to a new stage of existence, right? You take all of the experience with you from the previous cycle and you apply it to the new one. One of the reasons why I'm so excited about this is because the very last card that I pulled for you was the Fool. Now, there are no endings per se. There are only kind of like completions of cycles before you move up to the next one. You start again at the Full. Start something new with all the previous experience and everything. And it's like, what's that phrase? Meliora, ever better. Constant improvement. Why are they there? Four of Pentacles. And Temperance, right. This is a release, Cancer. This is a release of all of the things that went into making who you are right now, right? It seems like you're using your judgment. You're kind of assessing what you want to keep in your life and what you don't. And this is why this heritage and legacy thing has been coming up in my head now. You're kind of looking at where you've come from, all the stuff that you've brought with you, and what it is you want to bring to the world moving forwards. And some of that is incompatible with some of the emotional systems that you've been running, some of the value systems you've been running, your modes of thinking, all that kind of thing. It's like it is time to leave a lot of those behind, and that is what you are doing. Releasing so that you might heal. That's astonishing. Because you've done this quite holistically. It's not like you, like with Taurus, they're like, I must do this thing now. I must sit down. I must do my shadow work. I must be as, you know, studious as possible. Put all of my work into it. Like, I try to get them to chill out a little bit in that regard. But that's kind of their approach to self-improvement. Whereas this feels much more reflective, and what I like about it is it feels kind of open. It's almost like there isn't anything that's kind of off the table now, where it was before, where you might have emotionally clamped down on something. You're kind of like, no, actually, let's explore this. It's kind of leaning into the discomfort a little bit, but it doesn't feel like it's been hideously uncomfortable for you. It's been more intellectual exploration of your inner space. Oh, I love this for you. I love it very much. So just notice that the Hanged Man is at the bottom of the deck. Now that's the card of Pisces, but it talks about willing submission to something that is uncomfortable in order that you may, in some way or another, Cancer, some way or another, gain enlightenment from it, right? You see things from a different perspective. It could well be that you understand now that you were, you know, really like absolutely all encompassed with an energy, an emotional energy of something that wouldn't let you move in the intellectual direction that you'd already decided you wanted to go, right? I hope that this makes sense. So it's almost like you knew intellectually you wanted to go in a particular direction, but the emotional responses to things would hold you back. It would limit you in some way. And it feels like you've stopped letting it do that. So we've got this Hanged Man at the bottom of the deck who's saying exactly what I said before I even noticed that he was there. But we've got the Lovers card that follows that. So more major arcana. I can't begin to tell you how stunning the amount of major arcana is that's going on here. The Lovers is about knowing that you have ultimately all the power in the world to make the decisions that you want that will alter the course of your life, right? You are not reactive. You are proactive in this energy, right? You want to change something, then you do it, you know? And it's like everything is being assessed now. Is this adding value to my life, or can I leave it behind? Following that is the Star. The Star is a card of wish fulfillment in some regards. You know, it's about hope. It's about connection. And there's a connection to your emotional place, which is, you know, there's the Moon again. It's doing wonders for you. It honestly is, because it feels like a really soft empowerment that's going on with you at the moment. Like, you may have known intellectually all sorts of things, but there was a certain amount of fear and kind of clamping down on a possibility of getting hurt. But an assessment of priorities and value systems and all that sort of thing is kind of like, actually, in the grand scheme of things, I would rather risk being hurt by something than being locked down emotionally over here instead. So as we've got you showing up here in your present energy, it's the Mother of Cups, which is the Queen of Cups, which is a Cancer card. This is open receptivity. It's the feminine expression of the water energy. So it is receptive. It is in some ways passive, whereas the masculine presentation is active, right? It's going after things. Like there's activity. This is quite passive because you're opening up to new possibilities now. As you are kind of kicking out the things that you've been a little afraid of, as you have performed this level of assessment on your life, it feels very strongly like you're just like, right, okay, I'm making space for new things. Because ultimately that's what the World card does, it's what the Tower card does, it's what the Death card does, right? In different ways, but they're all about creating space for new things to come in. Like, there's a certain level of contentment that I'm kind of feeling radiating off these cards at the moment. The thing is, we've got the Queen of Wands and the Eight of Wands here, so it isn't like you are just sitting there and expecting things to just drop into your lap. The Queen of Wands is also, because she's a queen, she's receptive energy, but she's the one who goes after the things that she wants. Now, you're going after something and you're getting very, very close to having those wands hit. Tell me about the Queen of Wands and the Eight of Wands, please. Thank you. Oh, wow. Oh, lordy. Right, this is fantastic. So what we've got is the Three of Swords and the Ten of Swords, and then the King of Cups and the Three of Wands. Oh, I love this for you, Cancer. Right, you are refusing to be held back by this energy anymore. This feels like this is what you've been identifying in yourself. We've got the Three of Swords, which is very, very painful heartbreak, and we've got the Ten of Swords, which can also talk about heartbreak. It can talk about betrayal and humiliation. And, you know, we're fucking standing there with 10 swords in your back, you know what I mean? Like, it's difficult energy, but it is a 10. It's about acknowledging an end to having your emotional state dictated by these things, right? Now you're all about kind of cracking open your protective mechanisms and being open to what comes through, because the risk of getting hurt doesn't seem quite as, I want to say, likely. I mean, we're all likely to get hurt at some point in our lives, but it seems less frightening than just continuing doing things the way that you have been doing them this whole way, right? And we've got this King of Cups here, and that could be a Scorpio that's around you in some way, but it might actually just be you. It might be your ownership of both the masculine and the feminine expressions of this energy, right? So that is balance. Where the Queen is receptive and you know, open to things coming, the King will also pursue those things and actively bring them into your life. Like, everybody has masculine and feminine qualities, and ultimately what we're looking for is the alignment of both of those things. Your emotions are looking very aligned indeed. Not only that, we've got the Three of Wands, which is about how you live. Like, you are living differently. You are showing up differently in the world right now. And maybe that's where this feeling of contentment that I've got is coming from. Like, I don't feel any sense of fear about what it is that you are making judgments on and, you know, to a degree kind of excising from your experience. Like, I just don't fucking need that. Like, that's away, that's gone. You know, maybe it is possible that there have been people that you have been in conflict with or feeling conflict about, and this Ace of Swords has come in and gone, do you know what, this is too much fucking effort. Like, why am I expending all of this effort on this? As I'm saying it, it feels like that's true. Remember that we had the Wheel of Fortune underneath there. You are exactly where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, having, it seems, the thoughts that you are supposed to have at exactly the right time. Tell me what's coming into land for Cancer. Oh, that one jumped out. Right, this is exactly what I was talking about wow, about that reassessment of priorities, values. You know, where are there things in your life that are not aligned with your value system, intellectual or otherwise, emotional, you know, however it stands. Because what you are doing is plucking out the important things, putting it front and center and going, right, I am plodding off in this direction, and anything that's holding me back, I'm going to let go of. The card that came out with it was Strength. It's a card of Leo in the Major Arcana, but it speaks specifically about that internal strength. You know, the one that stops you from... Well, look, it's progression for you, right? It's the next sign along in the zodiac. There's an obvious progression there, but it talks about soul growth. It talks about things being difficult and you going, do you know what, right, I've got this, I can move beyond this, this is what I'm doing, right? You have found your inner strength by finding what is important to you and pursuing only those things that actually bring value and a degree of emotional fulfillment to you. This is tremendous. I love it. So what you've got coming towards you is the Sun of Wands, and this is interesting. Like I said, that is Sagittarian energy. It's the Knight of Wands in the standard deck. It's about movement, right? There's a certain amount of kind of spontaneous energy with the Knight of Wands, and he gets a bit of a bad rap because the corollary of the nature of the energy of the Knight of Wands is a lack of commitment. But if you consider it properly, what it's talking about is living in the moment. It's the true embodiment of living in the moment. We would look to develop that at some point into something a little less spontaneous, a little bit more kind of tempered by wisdom and whatnot. Like the King or Queen. Actually, you've got the Queen here already, to be fair. It feels like an opportunity, if I'm honest. This is how it's feeling. Tell me about the Knight of Wands. What's this? Ooh. Justice and the Ten of Wands. Okay, so a flat interpretation of this would be if you have some sort of legal, you know, doings going on at the moment that are quite burdensome, and so by that I mean, you know, contracts, legal proceedings of any descriptions. It can be divorces, it can be, you know, suing people, like whatever. It feels like where it is currently difficult, that will be alleviated in December, right? And in your favour, quite likely by the look of it. But for some of you, getting out of difficult contracts is what you're trying to do at the moment, and that will be successful. So if you're stuck in something, some sort of legal contract of any description, release is coming for sure. The other way of looking at this is that this is just a continuation of the energy that you have already started. So you are freeing yourself up to be more spontaneous because you are excising all of that which is keeping you burdened, keeping you trapped, keeping you stuck. All of the stuff that's really far too much hard work. Getting rid of it. And in some cases, that does mean walking away from people who are part of that. Now, with the Justice card being there, you know, if we look for a kind of higher interpretation of that, this is life lesson stuff. Whenever we get the Justice card and the Wheel of Fortune appear in the same reading, like this is a kind of major lesson that you are being called to learn. Now, you're a very loyal sign, right? Very emotionally bonded to people. And that's sometimes what gets you into trouble. And whilst you might, you know, snap your pincers and get shitty and move away from a situation, quite often you'll scuttle back after a while because you'll second guess yourself or you'll internalize what's happened and decide that it was your fault and actually you overreacted and maybe you should come back and all that sort of thing. I don't see that happening here. It feels like walking away from something involving people that has kept you very rigid, very stuck. We get a different deck for the last bit of this one on. Yeah, I thought it was you. I just want to clarify this Two of Swords before I go any further. Right. Tell me about this Two of Swords, please. Yeah, where you have felt stuck and unable to make a decision about these people, it feels like, you know, you get the insight, you understand, and actually being very present, you can go, I'm done here now, I'm not doing this anymore, this is not fun, this is not useful, this is not, you know, whatever it is. Because I mean, if it's a work situation, maybe it's actually more work than it's worth you expending to get what you're getting back for it. If it's friends or family or colleagues or anything like that, you're just like, what do you even bring to the table? It feels like you've been kind of procrastinating on this. There's been like a little gnawing nibble in you somewhere that's been pointing out that this situation, this relationship, this cooperative kind of thing that's going on is very one-sided, and it seems like you're the one who's been carrying all of the burden. So where you are indecisive, it seems like you're pulling well back from this now and you are making a decision about it. And it's a decision to release yourself. That's the Four of Swords and the Two of Pentacles there. You're bringing balance back to you by stepping right away from what this means. We've got the Fool there. Beautiful card. It feels like it's the last thing that's holding you back at the moment, Cancer. This is the key to your graduation from the world to the Fool. Because once you've done this, the lesson is complete. Like, you have understood the lesson, you have taken it on board, and you have implemented it in every single aspect of your life. The card that came up to clarify that was the Six of Cups, and this is interesting. It could be people that you've known for a very long time, but it also could be someone that you have felt was like a soulmate at times, right? That could be a romantic relationship, but we bump into soulmates all the time. We don't have, you know, romantic or sexual relationships with all of them. The important thing to remember about soulmate energy is that it isn't written anywhere that soulmate needs to be alongside you for the rest of your life. They come in until you've learned a lesson and then they move away again. The fact that there's a history here might be the thing that's been stopping you from making this decision. But the fact that the Knight of Wands is here means that your mind is not back there on the shared history. It's right here. Like what the situation is right in front of you right now. And I see you freeing yourself up. And this is good because, ooh, yeah, I'm going to take that as confirmation for what I just said. There's the Knight of Wands again. It's the reason why it is good is because it means you are putting yourself first. This is something that has been very alien to you, but it's something that you've been working on this year and trying to get a handle on and working with so that you don't feel guilty, you know, when it happens. I've got the Seven of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck here. Like, you know that this situation is not right. And now it's up for assessment, and you're going to be making a decision about it in December, and it's the right decision for you. So this is cool. If this message has resonated with you at all, like, not only would I love it if you share or like the video and do all the shiny YouTube things, but there is an extended. I'm going to go over to Vimeo and do that now. If you're interested, the link's in the description box beneath the video. But I'm really proud of you, Cancer. This is super stuff. This is really, really good stuff. You know, how you are showing up in the world is much more like you, and much like how you always should have turned up, but didn't feel bold enough to do so. Now it doesn't feel like an effort. It doesn't feel like you're overstepping the mark here anywhere. And I really, really love that for you. So I'm going to leave it there. Know that I love you all very much, and I will see you soon.